Welcome to the Fill the Funnel podcast with Jeff Swan
and Tom Slocum.
We're here to help you crush your targets
with tactical tips and insights you can act on today.
Don't have a fancy tech stack, a big budget, or even a huge team to lean on?
Well, it's time to get that solved today with FTF Fridays.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Fill the Funnel Fridays with your host Jeff Swan and Tom Slocum. We're joined today by Darin from RepVue to discuss something really cool. It's actually the concept that the SDR might just be the modern recruiter, and he has some stats to share and a reason why we think that's actually a real thing. So, Darin, do you want to kick this off for us?
Yeah, Jeff, Tom, thanks for having me. My name is Darin Alpert. I'm VP of Strategy here at RepVue. And RepVue is the leading platform for sales professionals to find out data and information about companies that they potentially want to work for and their value as well, too. So I think with that statement of our BDRs, SDRs, the modern recruiter, it's interesting. Like, we just did a poll on LinkedIn, and we got about 800 answers, and it's primarily of our audience on RepVue. And out of the 800 answers, 53% of them said the reason they'd respond to a recruiter's message is the quality of the message. So that's kind of overwhelming when you think about that versus there's a spray and pray model that, I mean, we've seen SDRs do spray and pray. We know that doesn't work. But if recruiters are doing it, they're not going to attract the talent that they want to land as well.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, in truth, I think you kind of said this in our preamble, is that recruiters are SDRs, SDRs are recruiters. They kind of do the same role. And a really good recruiter is going to go out there and handpick clients, handpick candidates and handpick clients. And all they're doing is trying to fill their pipeline of one or the other. Right. Exactly. So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. But if you think about like the stages of the sales funnel, it's the same thing with like the talent funnel. It's awareness, discovery, evaluation, intent, purchase, and then retention. That all fits into attracting talent and attracting prospects to become customers.
Right. It's true. Everybody's selling something, whether it's selling a conversation, selling an application, selling a placement, what have you. Right.
Exactly.
And so when you're looking at, so I want to narrow down on what you were talking about with the messaging. So this is actually something that is near and dear to my heart. Messaging is just so important to good outreach. I come up from the email game and found my way into social and cold calling, but messaging is so important. And how do you, I don't know if your data told you at all, but how do people recognize, good messaging?
Yeah, I mean, there's the poll didn't answer that, but you can kind of see it when the messaging comes through. Is it personalized? Are they mentioning, is a recruiter, when they're reaching out to sales talent, mentioning something specific that the talent did? And if you think about it, like sales talent, and especially if you're trying to attract SDRs into your org, you're messaging to a persona that like lives and breathes messaging, right? And delivering the right message with the good value prop at the right time. And I feel like SDRs and BDRs are probably the most hyper aware to that, because if they're getting pitched why they should join an organization and they kind of smell BS, like they're not going to respond. So it's kind of that funnel getting flipped from SDRs doing outbound to prospects, and then if talent acquisition teams are reaching out to SDRs with that good messaging, like you got to nail that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because if you think about it, it kind of switches the power game, right? Because the SDR is right. Like the SDR is always out there trying to book a meeting and try to get executives or people maybe above their level in the organization to try to pay attention and get in their funnel. And in this case, now they're being recruited. Now they're being courted from the messaging. And of course, when they're sitting there getting critiqued by, their boss, their colleague, marketing, like everybody and their prospects on their messaging, now they're going to be hypercritical when somebody comes to them. So I can 100% see how that happens. So go to the next section, I guess, is that talking about that. So how is the SDR themselves, the modern recruiter, how did they contribute to successful recruiting in the organization?
Oh,
Yeah. I think there's an opportunity for talent acquisition teams and SDR teams to partner up on what kind of messaging should go out. So maybe it's a Slack channel, maybe it's like a monthly meeting where they connect. I've been a part of sales orgs in the past where I actually set up Slack channels of like prospecting success. So whether it was AEs that had messaging that worked really well, they would screenshot an email or a LinkedIn message that worked really well, shared it with the rest of the team so they could see that. Whether it was like a cold call snippet, maybe if the call was getting recorded. But I think there's an opportunity for like this cross pollination between SDRs that are really good at messaging. So if you think about the hierarchy of an org, right? Like ultimately, like the head of talent acquisition probably rolls into the CHRO or a VP of people or whatever the title is in talent acquisition. And then like the SDR is going to roll into like a VP of business development or like an SDR manager who ultimately they'll roll up into the C-suite, right? So it's getting that C-suite alignment to have their teams talking and sharing best practices. And I think there's SDRs and organizations that are obviously really good at messaging, landing meetings, getting meetings set up for their team that could leverage that same skill set. And there's a science to it, right? Like we know that there's science of messaging that works. Like why not share that same skill set and that same talent with the talent acquisition team? Because they can tweak, maybe they take a look at what the talent acquisition team is putting together and they can tweak that to help attract new talent as well.
Such a great point, Darin. Like you're involved, right? You're the one working. You're the one that does the day-to-day job. And sometimes the recruiters are so full of jargon, all these things that they're not really, again, showing these these potential employees how they could be the hero, right? In the messaging and how they're going in there and pitching out what their job description is. All their messaging is about them, right? We need this. We need this. This is what we're looking for. This is what you need. But like, there's no value there for why I would apply for that role or drive that. Where if you involve whatever position you're looking for, if you involve the team that does that job in the messaging, like interview them. Why did you work here? What do you love about the job? Why do you stay? And diving into that, then your messaging and go-to-market strategy for those roles makes a lot more sense. And now when they're dropping on ads and they're being promoted, it's resonating with the right audience and being seen and shared. And it just switches up the ballgame a little bit, versus just dropping a job description on LinkedIn being like, hey, we're hiring. Good luck.
Right. Yeah, or something generic that's not tailored to the person, and when you think about that from like the SDR's perspective and like the value they bring to an organization, their enterprise value at an org goes up dramatically versus like, hey, obviously I'm really good at bringing in prospective customers, but like if I can help land talent too, like that SDR's value in an organization just went way up.
Way up. You have opportunity, you have job opportunity, you have avenues and careers to go into. You might find out you like recruiting and you do good at it. When I was running sales teams, we had them involved in the interview process, right? They would meet with the candidate, talk to them. My team leads would, right? And they would be involved in the interview process, dropping notes after they met with the person, letting us know what they thought. And when you involve your team in the hiring process, it makes a world of a difference. They feel invested. They'll be honest. They'll let you know if it fits. Because from a manager standpoint or a leader standpoint, you're there and that's your team, but they're more close-knit together, right? They're the team. You're just the guy up here or the gal up here kind of monitoring them, but they're the core. And if you hire the wrong person, that team's not going to, if you don't even involve them and all of a sudden there's a new body joining their team, they're not going to like that, right? They're like, how do I support this guy? Or you start barking orders at them. Hey, get time on their calendar, teach them all this stuff. It's like, what the hell?
Right.
But when they're involved and they're picking the person, then when that person starts struggling, you don't even have to ask the reps to help you because they're already invested to help because that was their person they picked. Yeah. So they're like, dude, how can I help you? How can I make you better? And they take that ownership and you build that camaraderie a lot better when you invest the people on your team in the recruiting process versus leaving them high and dry.
I think you nailed it, Tom. And yeah, like not every SDR's, like the beginning of what you said, like not every SDR's career path is linear, right? Like,
yeah.
they may realize that they don't want to be an SDR manager or become an AE or whatever, and realize like, hey, I'm really good at attracting talent. Like, this is a road I want to go down. I don't want the pressure of a sales quota. I'd rather have a talent acquisition quota.
And it's the same thing, right? It's booking meetings, right? You're booking people to come in for the role. You're putting it out there for people to fulfill. It's just like being an SDR. So I don't know why that isn't more of a career option for sales development or account executives to get into. You know, it's one of the most roles that I've seen kind of be so gated to get into. To get into talent recruiting or HR is such a gated career path. Like, it's very, very like hush hush, and like you can't get in that world unless you have some killer background or all this stuff. But you have people on your team that could easily be molded and trained and be great recruiters for you. And they know how to put in the work. I know a lot of SDRs that went to staffing agencies. The company I had a team of 30 at my last place, and 3 of the reps went back into staffing after they learned SDR world. And now they crush it as talent recruiters and in the staffing agency, and they out hustle every single recruiter that they know because they know how to build pipeline. They know numbers. They know the struggles. They know about going out and vetting business and qualifying leads. And it's an amazing lane for people that just too many people don't realize to leverage.
Yeah. And if they've got the command of the plan of like, here's my funnel, I need to get X amount of candidates that I reach out to, and I get Y amount of connections that lead to Z amount of meetings, and then we hire this many people off of that. You mix that with the command of the message of like, why work with us? Like, and I know what you're thinking. Especially like, that's the ultimate to me is like, if you're an SDR that's like, hey, I don't want to become an SDR, but I like this like talent acquisition piece of this. And you take those skill sets of an SDR and bring that into the talent acquisition team, you're going to be like the MVP of that talent acquisition, because you've already done the other side of it.
You have the muscles, right? You've practiced the muscles that most don't, right? Recruiters don't think like that. They're not looking at numbers like that. They're not working backwards. They're not understanding the importance of messaging, right? Like, there's a lot that, and I'm not bashing on recruiters. I love y'all. Please understand, right? But like, they're not trained like that, right? They don't have that mindset. Most of them don't do it like that. So when you bring an SDR in there, I mean, it shakes up the whole world. When we start SDRs involved, like, and your retention is much higher, which is the bottom line, right? Because you could drive stuff, but at the end of the day, it's about keeping people on, the growth that they're going through, the promotions they're going through. Like, you're directly involved in that, and you're going to crush that because you know how to manage that. You know how to find right people, qualify people, you know, and go through that. And you were in the world. You went through the job experience, right? You got hired on that system. What was it like? What didn't you like? How would you adopt it to be better fit for SDRs, AEs, people going through that? Because a lot of times the recruiters don't really go through the hiring process. They just end up being on the team. They're just hired, right? So that, you know, they just start going after it, and they don't even know what that onboarding process looked like for that role. They just do it, and they're like, best of luck to you. And it's like, well, okay, but what's that process like? And SDRs are so knowing about the entire customer cycle that they could fill in those gaps and walk you through it and guide you. So all you SDRs out there, like, don't think you can't jump into the world of recruiting, and even do it without the role, right? Sharing RevUp, getting your team to be posting on RevUp, what your company's all about, why it's important to want to be there, you know, pushing that out to your network, talking to your friends. You know, I would take a job from somebody coming to me directly that I know than like seeing the offer on like LinkedIn or whatnot. I think you two would do the same, right? Like, if somebody reached out to you and said, I have a job for you, or I think you'd be a good fit for this, you would be more inclined to apply that way than like just seeing the ad in your feed.
Yeah,
well, I think this is indicative. Go ahead, Darin.
No, I was going to say, I'd want to back it with like third-party validation, which is like where RepVue comes in, because you can see what percentage of the team's hitting quota, how much can I actually make, is there product market fit, things like that. So I think that kind of falls into that as well.
Totally. I think RepVue is a huge part of that. You know, you can go evaluate these SaaS companies ahead of time and actually see behind the curtain from the real people that are working there. Like, are you really hitting quota? Like, for real? Like, are you really? No? Okay, then like, is OTE actually real? Like, great, I make $100K a year as an SDR OTE, but like, how many are doing that? 0? Okay, well then like, that's clearly not the right benefit. Or 8? Great, I could go do that, right? So I think there's a lot of what RepVue does is really educate you on, you know, picking the right place. And I think Amy Volitz does a great job with her scorecard, right? That goes around the communities, and looking at some of these it takes a lot to pick a job. And it's not just to pick a job. You want to put yourself in a position to win, stay there for at least a year or two, right? You don't want to be jumping around or finding crappy jobs.
Yeah. And this is it. It's a seller's market, or it used to be a seller's market when it comes to getting jobs. Like it used to be this crazy fat funnel that recruiters could just sift through and all that stuff. And now you're looking at it as more of a buyer's market. Now with tools like RepVue, there's more control in the hands of the reps, and they're able to actually pick and choose where they go. So you got to think about it like if you have a sales team, that means you're switching from a primarily inbound organization to a primarily outbound. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a lot more SDRs moving over to recruiters in the near future. And who knows, maybe we started something here. Maybe it started the conversation.
Yeah. And especially if you've got like SDRs that are doing recruiting for maybe like AEs or like a sales role, because like if you think about the enterprise value of that, right? Like SDR helps source meetings that land customers. That's obviously really good, especially with like retention, if that's there, with customers sticking around. But if an SDR switches and becomes a recruiter and works on a talent acquisition team and goes out and sources 2 or 3 salespeople, I'm just throwing out numbers, and they've got a quota of like $1 million a year and they hit their quota, and then you factor in the lifetime value of the customers that they brought in, like that one-to-many model is way more valuable to a company than just helping land a couple meetings for one AE.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I can't imagine what it would be like to have that data at your fingertips, Darin. I'm kind of jealous right now.
Good data, yeah. We're continuing to build it out, but like if you go on today, there's about 27,000 ratings across AE roles, SDR roles. So if you're an SDR that's like looking to become an AE, RepVue's got a ton of data from some of the best companies in the world out there. Or if you're an AE looking to switch to another AE role or get promoted, RepVue's got data there as well. So I could talk about this topic all day, but I think it's like this, it hasn't really been scratched yet for SDR career growth.
And you get a t-shirt if you leave a couple of reviews, don't you, Darin? You get a t-shirt?
Yeah, 3 ratings and you get a really comfy t-shirt. I should have worn it today, but there you go.
I should too. I thought about it. My wife has it on. She wears it all the time. That's one of her favorites. The cloth and the feel of it. She loves it. But I remember meeting Darin 5 years ago and being an early adopter of RepVue, and it was just getting started out. But yeah, if you go out there, the best thing as an SDR right now or an AE or anybody in our audience is check out RepVue. Drop at least 3 ratings of some companies that you worked at, kind of give them that data, continue to help support one another and the truth of what's actually happening at your orgs, not what Glassdoor or others say, but truly what is really going on and do a service for the next person, right? And let them know what's going on. Or if you really are the most amazing company, share that, toot that horn, tell them like, yes, everybody here hits OTE. Yes, we make 6 figures, right? I think it's a beautiful thing, and SDRs should be doing more of it, especially in this market. I mean, we have a lot of openings. We have a lot of people looking. Help them. If you want to know how you can help your fellow friend right now land that next job, go drop a meeting on RepVue.
Awesome.
Yeah, so hopefully this taught you a little bit about being a recruiter or the next career step for you. So enjoy, my friends, and happy hunting. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fill the Funnel podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite platform, give us reviews, and tell all your friends about us. Till next time, happy hunting.